everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode of Haystack Nation. I'm Jesse Cias, and I'm here with Vanessa Cias.
Hello.
Say hello, Vanessa.
I just
Say hello, everyone out there. Say hello to all that one person that's listening.
Hello, one person.
Hello, that one person that's listening. Thank you for joining us.
Listening.
Thank you for listening. Speaking of listening, we just want to remind everyone to share Haystack Nation with other people. If you enjoy this podcast and you feel like you're learning and growing and find it useful, then share it with others, right?
Or maybe it's just fun.
Maybe it's just fun, yeah. You don't have to learn anything. It can just be fun. But if you find it useful, we would appreciate it if you do share it with your friends, your neighbors, maybe even an enemy.
I don't even know what to say to that.
You may be able to turn an enemy into a friend by sharing Haystack Nation. Think about that. That's how powerful this podcast can be.
Wow. Toot toot.
But in any case, we just encourage you to, if you're listening and you're enjoying this, please share it with other people. We want to have as many followers as possible. We're kind of growing a little bit too with our reach. We are reaching some people here in the States and multiple states.
Mm-hmm.
Then we even have a listener in Zimbabwe and the UK. Maybe one or two listeners out there. So if you're listening, thank you. I don't know how you say that in Zimbabwe language.
Zimbabwe language.
You have a pretty good British accent. Can you say thank you in your British accent?
I don't have a good British accent.
Anyway, well, we would definitely, we welcome you all that are listening maybe in other parts of the world. That is really exciting just to know that we could be reaching people that are out there in other parts of the world. Mm-hmm. Never thought, we could do that, but with today's technology and ability to communicate, it's great, that someone could be listening to us.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of people listening, we were at church today, right? At the Keene Seventh-day Adventist Church. We were there for our Sabbath school and stuff. So when Elijah and I, our little boy, we went to your classroom to pick up you and Evie.
Well, Evie's classroom.
Well, Evie's classroom, right. No, Evie was accompanying you to Sabbath school.
4-year-old Sabbath school.
Anyway, so I was standing at the door and someone came back. Someone approached me and, I didn't see them initially, but they approached me and said, "Are you the Haystack Nation guy?" And I turned around and I was like, I get, yeah. It's interesting. And this is the second time that, that this has happened to me. Mm-hmm. I think it's a sign. I don't know of what, but it catches me off guard. It's like, oh, hey, someone's listening. So anyway, so I turned around and there was a gentleman there. And it took me a little bit to process, figure out who this was, but it took me a couple of moments, but I realized that this is a person that I went to school with, very many years ago when we were very young. And we were attending the El Paso Junior Academy because that's where I'm from. I'm from El Paso. And so I attended the little private school that was attached to the Seventh-day Adventist church there. And so grew up there and it was him. His name's Jerry, Jerry Clifford. And I said, Jerry, and he's like, yeah, hey, and it was funny because he told me how he kind of came across Haystack Nation. He found it on a feed on Facebook, mm-hmm. and he's like, "Oh, Haystack Nation, that sounds interesting. That sounds Adventist." So he joined it and followed it, and didn't really give it much more thought. He just thought, "Oh, okay, I'm going to follow this or one." And then he saw one, I guess through another thread or another post that remember Promise. The little girl,
yes,
when I went to get my haircut.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that a Haystack Nation guy?
Yes.
Yes, I am the Haystack. I better just get used to that, right? Yes, I am the Haystack Nation guy. Would you like my autograph? No.
Okay.
But anyway, so he saw her there and he said, "Oh, Promise." And then I guess he saw he saw my face or maybe he heard a podcast where we explained this situation, and he said, that voice, that's Jesse. And he realized that, this is a guy I went to school with.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a really good conversation. Anyway, that's how he came across Haystack Nation. You just never know.
Yeah.
You never know who's listening out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, the Adventist world is a small community, so somebody always knows somebody.
That's
knows
true.
somebody.
That's true. It is a small community, but at the same time, it's a big community because it's all over the world.
I just meant like somebody always knows somebody in the Adventist community.
Yeah, and here in Keene, in this area, there's a lot of people that come from El Paso, and they go to college here, or they just moved to the area. And that's how he ended up here. So he's actually a teacher at CTA, Chisholm Trail Academy, which is the Seventh-day Adventist Academy here in Keene, high school, here in Keene. And he's really excited. It's his first year teaching there. He was teaching at the Keene Public School, but then he's going to start teaching here at the Academy. Mm-hmm. So awesome. Yeah, great guy. Just catching up was like, wow, it was
a blast from the past.
A blast, yeah. It was so kind of surreal. Like, this is a guy that grew up with and hadn't seen him for years. I mean, years. Yeah. I hadn't seen him. This was the first interaction that I actually had with him. So that was really interesting. And but again, you just never know who's. So thanks, Jerry, if you're listening to this. It was fun to see you today, and just keep listening and share this with other people. But of course, the risk of sharing Haystack Nation with other people is that you may never have other friends. You may destroy your social life. But it's worth the sacrifice. To listen to us, it's worth the sacrifice.
We don't always know what we're talking about, so.
No, it just comes to us. We're just, gifted and talented in that area. Anyway, so just really exciting, I guess, to see this ministry expand, to see people, listening, and so
and to know we have other listeners than Jim.
Yeah, that's great. It's really eye-opening. So just a real quick, if you missed our last podcast, you need to listen to it, right? I mean, it was a fun one. That one was about giving baby advice to soon-to-be parents.
Or giving baby pandas.
I believe that's the title of it, right? I forgot the title of it, but there was baby panda somewhere in that conversation that came up, and it was so. Hey, if you're if you're a soon-to-be parent, or a soon-to-be parent, and you're like, what kind of advice could I give them? What's a cool podcast that I could share with them? Haystack Nation, share it with them. I'm not sure that they really got a whole lot of good advice from us, but
no, but it was a good laugh.
It was a good laugh. No, I think they really enjoyed it. They enjoyed being a part of that, and I think they really found it useful and helpful. So tune in, check out that podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun. So shout out to Jonathan and Vanessa, by the way. That was our guests on the last one. Share Facebook, Instagram. That's where you can find us. Mm-hmm. And feel free to shoot us a message. I mean, if you find us on Facebook, Instagram, message us. Mm-hmm. Let us know what you think, or if it's too critical, if you can't say anything nice, don't say it at all. So anyway, so you had a trivia game, Vanessa, that you want to share with me. Do you have it with you?
I do not have it.
Well, go ahead and grab that, because I really want to engage in that trivia game. Can we find it? Can we take a few minutes to find it?
Sure. Just, I guess you're going to have to
be
entertained by Jesse.
So while Vanessa gets this trivia game set up, want to remind you also, our Haystack Nation library is growing, and we are introducing a lot of videos, and we have a growing number of podcasts now. So if you find us, we're also on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts. If you find our podcast, you can search our library and see all the different podcasts that we've done. And we really think of this as a ministry. We really think of this as a way, as an opportunity to reach out to people and share our experiences, share our stories, share really ultimately the gospel. We're trying to share Jesus with others. and do it in a way that's relatable, in a way that is fun, in a way that also brings a sense of relationship to your spiritual life. Because sometimes the spiritual life can be very one-dimensional, where maybe you just are focusing so much on study and maybe just going to church, and you forget that our faith is about relationship, a relationship with other people as well as a relationship with God. And so we want to, through everything that we do with this ministry, we want to share that and emphasize that. So please visit our growing library of podcasts and videos. And we do have a cooking show other than Haystacks.
Yes.
So check that out.
Yeah, Evan and I kind of been a little bit busy lately, so we haven't quite gotten to that, but that is something we are working on and hoping we can get another video out.
Continue that one. Yeah. We're going to get a video out. We're going to have a new meal to share with you, a new recipe to share with you. So stay tuned for that one. But again, you can also find our previous recipes and meals and cooking videos on Haystack Nation. Again, on YouTube there. If you want to find the videos, they are on YouTube. So anyway, Vanessa, I'm ready for this trivia. I'm ready to probably fail miserably.
Let's just see how good of a Seventh-day Adventist you really are.
I think we're going to find out more of a Sadventist than I am a
It's
Adventist.
only 10 questions.
Oh, 10 questions?
Just 10 questions.
That's
so
horrible.
We can see.
Because if I miss 3, it's almost failing. And I'm sure I'm going to miss more than 3. But go ahead.
Okay.
Let's see what you got.
So first question.
Try me out, Vanessa.
First question.
All right, first question.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church grew from which mid-1800s movement?
The Millerite movement.
Okay.
Is that correct? Will you tell me if it's correct now or
no?
No.
The end.
At the end?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I think it's right. The Millerite movement. Okay.
Let's see.
Next one.
I don't know if it works that way.
Okay, that's fine.
No, it doesn't let you do that.
Okay.
Which I'm pretty sure you're right on that one. Okay.
I'm 1 for 1.
Well,
Next one. This is all you got?
This man was called the Apostle of the Sabbath and wrote the Seventh-day Sabbath, a perpetual sign. Dr. Desmond Ford, Hiram Edson, Joseph Bates, or John Harvey Kellogg.
Joseph Bates.
Okay.
I'm 2 for 2, by the way, just so you know. I don't even have to. You don't have to go get the answers afterwards.
The Adventists emphasized the following: diet and health, separation of church and state, vegetarianism, or all of the above.
Oh, come on. All of the above. Is it the best you got?
I don't know. We'll find out, won't we? What do the Adventists call their sundown worship service?
Vespers.
Okay.
A-Y. Vespers
well,
or A-Y.
Vespers is one of the
options
choices.
there? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Which, by the way, for those of you that may not know, it's also called A-Y.
Oh, okay.
It should be an option as well.
Okay, number 5. How do the Adventists usually begin their program of Saturday worship? A potluck breakfast, intergenerational sharing, family worship hour, or Sabbath school?
Okay, that's a kind of a trick question because every church kind of starts off a little differently. So it's kind of hard to...
Really?
Yeah, well, yeah, for example, like...
Does anybody have potluck breakfast?
I don't know. Maybe there are some that do.
I think those are like special occasions when they do something like that.
All right. I would say in general, it starts off with Sabbath school.
Okay. That's what I was
in general.
with.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Seventh-day Adventists recommend vegetarianism.
Is that
true or false?
That is true.
Okay. How often do Seventh-day Adventists celebrate communion?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. What are my options?
Church holidays, holy days, 4 times a year, or every Saturday. This is actually kind of an easy test.
I want 4 times a year.
Final answer?
Final answer. So far, I haven't had to use any lifelines.
Good. Okay, number 8. What is the order of the 4 levels in the Adventist organization?
Oh, now you're getting into administrative organizational stuff.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
So
go ahead.
This is local conference, local church, general conference, union conference. That's one choice.
Oh, okay. We're going from top to
It's
bottom,
going
or from bottom to top?
From bottom to top.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So union conference, general conference, local conference, local church.
Wait, is that from top to bottom? What was the question originally?
What is the order of the 4 levels in the Adventist organization from bottom up?
From bottom up.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Third choice, local conference, general conference, union conference,
No, that's not that. We'll on to the next one.
local church, local conference, union conference, general conference.
That's the one right there. D is my final answer.
Okay. Number 9.
I can already like miss like this one, and I'll still be good.
Okay. I should have found something harder.
It's all right. Next time,
Okay.
Vanessa.
What is the official television network of the Seventh-day Adventist Church?
Haystack Nation.
Well, we're not a television network, so
We will be.
come on, Jesse. Can you answer
The answer to
this
every-
without me
Okay.
giving you choices?
Yeah, of course. 3ABN.
No, that's not an option.
Are you for real?
I'm for
3ABN
real.
is not an option?
Nope.
Okay, give me the options then.
The Hope Channel,
Oh, that was my second choice there. Okay, what else you got?
Good News Network, Beyond the Dream, and Eternal Word Television.
I still think Haystack Nation Network should be somewhere in there.
All right. Well, you got that one wrong then.
It's a Hope Channel.
Okay.
I think it's a Hope Channel.
Okay. Well, we'll find out at the end
Okay.
of this test. So, number 10, final question.
That's right. That was number 9. Okay.
Where are the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church? Battle Creek, Michigan,
Incorrect.
Springfield, Missouri,
Incorrect.
Silver Spring, Maryland,
That is correct.
or New York, New York?
Silver Spring, Maryland.
Okay. All right, Jesse.
All right,
Let's
let's
see.
do it. 100%.
Let's see. Making sure you got every single question correct.
Oh, of course. Let's thank you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Yeah, what can I say, Vanessa? I mean, I'm a Adventist veteran, or veteran Adventist. So, next time you just got to step up your game.
I guess so.
You make it a little bit harder. I was really
Well,
kind
that
of,
was the first quiz that popped up. So
It's okay, yeah.
I mean, I try to get this
Well,
before we started this.
but
so.
there might be some listeners out there that didn't know these things.
True.
So, maybe you're new to Adventism, or
And then they've realized that Adventists are arrogant.
very humble people. What are you talking about? When we toot our horn, Vanessa, this is what it sounds like. Well, I mean, when you've been in the Adventist church for such a long time,
I know.
it's kind of,
I was just trying to be funny, Jesse.
and that was pretty funny, Vanessa. That was funny. Yeah, well, of course, because Haystack Nation, and I probably should have stated this before we started the quiz, but obviously we're an Adventist ministry, right? And so that's why you were quizzing me on
Adventism.
because we're an Adventist ministry. We're Seventh-day Adventist. And just in case you're sharing this with somebody else, like a podcast with someone else, you can let them know, hey, this is an Adventist podcast. These are Seventh-day Adventists. So everything that we talk about comes from that perspective, comes from that biblical view. I mean, and Adventists are very biblical based. So biblically based. So everything that we believe, everything that we advocate for, that we propose, that we promote is biblical, and please, if at any point in time you hear us promoting something, a view, an idea, a message, and you're wondering if that's biblical or not, just let us know, and we'd be happy to obviously check ourselves before we wreck ourselves.
I knew you were going to say that.
How'd you know, Vanessa? How'd you know? It's like you're married to me or something.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming up with that game.
Yeah.
That was really fun. I think next time when we have done Evanette here, we should do another trivia game or a quiz. Of course, they'll fail, but that's how you grow. That's how you learn through failure.
Very true.
Speaking of growth, that's what we want to talk about today, right?
Yes.
Spiritual growth,
Yes.
and a very important part of living life. Getting to know God is through growth. If you don't have growth, you get stagnant, you get stuck.
Yes.
I think we've all been there.
Yes.
Have you been there before?
I have.
Stuck and stagnant?
Mm-hmm.
What's that like?
You're just stuck.
Not fun.
No, it's not fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think
you feel like something's always missing. Like I feel like you yearn for something else when you're just stuck.
Yeah.
And you have those moments. And everybody has them throughout their, their spiritual journey. I mean, I have.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and that's a really good way to describe it. Actually, when you feel stuck or stagnant, you just feel like something's missing. Like there's a void that needs to be filled, and you're trying to figure out, how do I fill this void? Right? What is missing? And a lot of times, you kind of assess your life or evaluate your situation, and you might have a lot of things in your life going well, but something's still missing. Something maybe doesn't feel right. Of course, on the other hand, you can have a lot of things going wrong in your life, and then obviously you're really thinking, well, what is missing?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, sometimes I feel like when I'm stuck, that it's not that necessarily things are always going wrong. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes, that I'm like, it's kind of hard to describe. It's not always that something's always going wrong. And we'll kind of get more into that as we talk a little bit more about, this growth.
Would you say that sometimes maybe it's maybe I'm not paying attention to something? Maybe not that everything's going wrong in your life, but maybe it comes down to, maybe there's something there that maybe I'm missing, that I'm not tending to, I'm not being attentive to. And with all the hustle and bustle that we experience in life, right? It's kind of like we don't take time to really listen to that.
I think that also sometimes it's just realizing how truly blessed I am. Because sometimes when you get stuck, it's not always necessarily that things are going bad and you're like, looking to God at those moments. Sometimes it's also realizing how good your life is or how blessed you have been. And it's like realizing that someone gave you that, gave you all those blessings. That's why things are, falling into place, or, but it's also still realizing there's something that's missing from your life at that moment.
Yeah, so I mean, you can have a lot of success and prosperity, right? And still feel like something's missing. And like you said, maybe that's because you haven't taken the time to really realize or understand that all that prosperity and success is because God is blessing you.
Right.
And you're not, that's what I'm talking about. You're not paying attention to that part.
Oh, yes.
Right? You're not paying attention to the fact that this is more of a blessing than anything else. And you're ignoring that or neglecting that. And so, you can have all the things fall into place. You can have a pretty good life. But of course, if you're not giving God thanks, you're not recognizing his hand in everything, then I mean, there's always going to be that little something that's missing there that you're maybe trying to fill maybe with other stuff. And of course, again, you can have the opposite where everything's going wrong. Life is falling apart. Things are not going well. Maybe health, relationships, work, whatever, finances, and you're thinking to yourself, what is happening here? What is going on? And even in those kind of situations, you can still find God, right?
Right.
And God is still wanting to speak to you. So growth is a really important part of not just your everyday life, but in terms of spiritual life. You have to grow, and so how do we discover that growth? How do we continue that growth? And I want to share a passage, Vanessa, and I know you've kind of been on a path to some growth recently, right? But I want to share this passage that I think really is powerful. This is from Acts of the Apostles, Spirit of Prophecy here. It says, wherever the need of the Holy Spirit is a matter little thought of, there is seen spiritual drought, spiritual darkness, spiritual declension, and death, right? So it says here, whenever we're not even thinking about the Holy Spirit, right? Whenever we're not even thinking about God, that's when we see that drought. We see maybe that being stagnant, being stuck. spiritual darkness. And so it says, whenever minor matters occupy the attention, the divine power which is necessary for the growth and prosperity of the church, which of course is individuals, right? And which would bring all other blessings in its train, is lacking, though offered in infinite plenitude. That's exactly what you were talking about. I mean, we're offered all these blessings, right? But because we're not giving proper attention to the Holy Spirit or God's hand in our life, then we have that drought. We have that stagnant feeling.
Yes.
So you kind of discovered something recently, right? Just in your personal life.
Yes.
And I mean, this may not even sound like a big deal to you, right? But it is a big deal. And so tell us what you discovered, and how did you discover this need or
This growth?
this growth? Yeah.
Okay, well, I started going for walks. And the reason why I started going for walks is
Because you want to get away from us.
well, that was later. No.
That was just a bonus, right?
That was a bonus. Actually, I am part of a fitness community. And I was talking with the coach of this group that I'm in, and I was just telling her, like, you know, it was an accountability kind of group. So where you are held accountable to this certain coach and to the rest of the people in this group about how you're doing daily with your physical exercise, eating, you know, how you're eating, stuff like that. Well, I had contacted her because I was at a point where I'm like telling her, you know what, I need to stop for a little while. I'm getting burned out. I feel like it's a lot of stress right now. I've got a lot of things going on, and I just need to take a break. So if you're not hearing from me for a while, this is why. And she's like, okay, I get it. Like, I understand. So just, you know, step away for a while. Well, you know, whenever you're ready to come back. But she said, I don't want you to completely stop everything. So one thing that she had suggested physically doing was, can you at least do walks? At least get 10,000 steps a day. Go for walks. And
Which seems easy enough, right?
Right. But I was just like, oh my gosh, that's such a waste of my time. Like, I don't want to do that. And I was not really looking forward to at least doing that.
Because you're really hardcore kind of exercise
I am very
freak.
active. I'm very active. And so I was like, okay, you know what? This is better than nothing. So I'm going to start doing this. And what I discovered was that I actually really enjoyed those walks. Those walks was time for me to get away by myself. And during those walks started doing a lot more thinking. You know, I'm not dealing with small children at that time or anything else that's going on in the home.
Or a annoying husband.
I didn't say that. I said,
it's
or
implied.
anything that's going on in the home.
It's
you know,
implied.
it's time for me to think clearly, to think about everything that's going on.
And you had no idea that you would experience this, first of all, right? Like in your mind, you're just thinking, oh my gosh, walking.
Let me do these 10,000 steps a day so I can just at least give her that.
It was like a task.
Yes. But I started really enjoying it. And, you know, I kind of started off, you know, maybe doing like 30 minutes or whatever. And then I like doing about, you know, an hour. But during this time, it was helping me. Like, I was really thinking, and I was starting to like really think about my spiritual life, because we have all these things going on right now, you know. I was just kind of thinking about things that are going on in the world. My child's about to start school, which that was creating a lot of anxiety for me, because this is his first year going to school. And I was like, oh my goodness. So on these walks, I just started contemplating a little bit more about my spiritual life and thinking about, I'm not where I need to be. Like, I want my child to make good decisions in school, like to be a kind person, to be thoughtful, to be respectful, and to be able to stand up for what he believes. And I started thinking, if I can't even do that right now, or if right now I'm stuck, I'm stagnant, and our children learn by our examples. So if I am not showing him, how is he going to go and be able to show that at school. And it was like, whoa.
So would you say that this sense of responsibility just impressed you more when you got out, you were walking and just thinking and contemplating?
Yes, it did. Because it also made me reflect on myself and realize I'm not where I should be or where I want to be spiritually. And, it's important for me, for my children to see me doing the things that I'm trying to teach them.
Yeah.
Because, we have a routine with our kids. Like I'm not here in the morning, but you are, and you pray with the kids in the morning. In the evenings, we're together. So we always make that time in the evenings before they go to bed to have worship. But I started realizing, like, you know what? I'm just going through, it's like a little ritual for us. That's how I was seeing it. It was like, it's not something that I felt was important at the time, which I know it's important, but I was feeling more like it's part of our routine before bed.
Yeah.
And I can tell a difference and see a difference whenever I'm investing in my spiritual life and how I put that into my kids and how a lot of my things, man, I just lost my word.
How you see things?
No, how everything revolves around my time with God. So what I'm saying is, like, when I put the effort and time into having a spiritual life, it flows into the rest of my family life, work, whatever. And when I'm not investing in that, then it becomes routine. And then I feel like that, especially when I'm trying to talk to my children about certain situations. And when I don't even believe what I'm saying sometimes, but I'm like, I'm trying to teach my kid that God takes care of us or whatever, but I'm not investing in that myself. So it was like, I felt like I was giving them empty words instead of something that I truly believed in. So
where are you now? You've been walking for how long now? You started this
over a month, maybe a month and a half or whatever. But on these walks, because I don't have a lot of free time, I get up so early in the morning to go to work. And then when I come home, a lot of my time is, taking care of household chores or making dinner, kids, stuff like that, especially with Elijah about to start school. So this hour is starting to be like really beneficial to me, because what I started doing on my walks now is, before I was like listening to music, doing whatever and just thinking, but now I'm like, this is my time to be able to like spend with God. So what I'm doing now is I'm just listening to sermons, because this is my hour. Like I get an hour. And so it's been very nice. And I feel like it's starting to kind of help me get out of that stuck place in my spiritual life and kind of help me grow again.
That's, great point. And thanks for sharing that, because that's really important. I'm sure other people, a simple walk. You got all this from just walking, just taking a time to go out and take a stroll, take a walk.
I didn't have to think about anything. I didn't have to watch anybody, and I could just have a whole hour to myself to just think. And then I started, just realizing where I'm at. So
really you get the benefits of walking, right?
Yes.
Which are the physical benefits of walking, which is one of the greatest underestimated physical activities, I think. A lot of people underestimate how good walking can be for you. But then you get the spiritual part of it too, which helps you center yourself spiritually. And like you said, I like what you said, that when your life revolves around your spirituality and your faith, it spills out to everything else, right? And it's interesting how you've noticed that whenever I'm not investing in that, everything kind of dries up. It's like I can be telling my kids something, and it just doesn't seem to have that vitality, that conviction, right?
And I don't, like, if you don't believe it, your kids are not going to believe it.
Yeah.
And if they don't see you investing in it, then they're not going to invest in it. And I want my children to make it to heaven.
Yeah.
So in order for
sometimes we feel like we don't want them to be in heaven.
Oh, wow.
I'm just kidding.
Anyway, so in order for them to make it, it is my job and my responsibility. You know, God has given me this responsibility to help them grow, to help them, to nurture that, and for them to also see it in us, and to realize, you know what, mom and dad see that as important, you know, and it made me realize, you know, they see me work out all the time, and they're like, so now they know, you know, they have all this when we're somewhere, they're like, well, mom, working out is healthy. Or they see mom eating this instead of that, you know, like fruit instead of a cookie. They're like, well, that's a healthy choice. But I have never heard my children, well, I mean, they have said this, but I mean, when they don't say, well, mom reads her Bible every day, or mom always goes to God whenever she can't do this, you know, and
that's the stuff we want them to notice.
That's the stuff that I want them to notice. And so I am trying and putting that effort in and investing in that first. I have to do that for myself first in order for them to see that and understand the importance of having that relationship with God and nurturing it and making sure that we don't get stuck or stagnant.
What advice then would you give to someone who may be feeling stuck, stagnant, you know, just feeling like, oh, you know, life is drying up. I'm not experiencing maybe that relationship. You know, what would you say to that person?
I don't know, because like I said, for me, it was finally taking time for myself and getting away from everything to have time to think for myself. And I think that's important, because when you are trying to raise a family or your life is so chaotic and busy, you don't have time to think or reflect on those things.
It seems that way, at least, right?
It does.
But you really have to make the effort to do it.
Yes. And I was kind of, you know, forced into making this, but it was a great thing because it made me realize where I was at. Well,
you know, that is the advice right there. It's like you have to make time for it. You have to be alone.
Yes.
And not just fill that alone time with more nonsense stuff, right? Garbage or music.
And walking was great for me, because I mean, when you're walking on a treadmill, you can watch TV or do whatever, but this was actually getting out. And for me, I can't watch anything while I'm walking. I just start getting like dizzy. I'm like, what?
You get walking sickness?
I do get walking sickness if I'm watching something else. I mean, I get car sick. Motion sickness is crazy, ridiculous. So trying to watch something on my phone. So trying to watch something on my phone while walking it just doesn't work for me. Yeah. So this was great, because it put me in a position to fully be like taken away from every other kind of distraction. Yeah.
Well, and again, you know, you made the choice to fill that time with something spiritual. So number one is that be alone, be by yourself, give yourself a break, right? Number two, fill it with spiritual things. Because even if you take that time by yourself, and you may have that break or that, you know, that time for you, but if you don't, if you fill it with other stuff, you're just going to reap whatever it is that you're spending that time doing. But if you fill it with your spiritual life and spiritual things, then you reap the benefits of spiritual blessings.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So I think your advice is right on. I mean, take time for yourself and use that time to spend with God. What have you seen now that you've been doing this? Any evidence of growth?
I think for me, one thing,
even if it's internal evidence,
Well, one thing that I had really kind of noticed today, because I did go on a walk this morning before Sabbath school, is that I was listening to a sermon or whatever, and I just started thinking, you know, there are so many other things going on in this world that I need to be making sure that my family is ready for God's return. And then I started thinking about all the ridiculous things that sometimes occupy my mind or that I focus on. And I started thinking, you know, when I am investing and putting my thoughts on things toward God, all these other things that I thought were priority don't seem like a priority anymore.
Mm. Mm.
And so
They don't stress you out as much either?
No, because I just kept thinking to myself, like, why are you worrying so much about these certain things about your life
Mm-hmm.
or, about yourself when that's not even what's important, Vanessa?
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's trying to, and I know this because I started thinking, you know what, God, the devil knows that those are my distractions.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that those are the things that take my eyes off of what's really important in my relationship with God. So he uses those things constantly to distract me and try to make those things a priority. Like, I need to fix this. I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And this will make me better. This will make me happier. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that God doesn't care about any of those things. He cares about our heart. Mm-hmm. And, so I think for me, that has been something that I've realized as I'm trying to reprioritize things in my life. Things that I thought were important are really not important.
So that's the evidence right there, right?
Yes.
For you, that's where you're seeing that this growth is doing something to me.
Yes.
And it's changing something in me.
Yes.
I also have another piece of evidence for you.
Yes.
You're nicer to me.
Wow.
It's very nice. Keep walking, Vanessa. Keep walking. Walk every day.
I don't know what you mean by that. I'm always nice to you.
I'm kidding. But I think over time you'll also notice, and along the same lines, you probably notice your interactions with people also are probably less stressful, or the relationships you have with other people. There's an authenticity, a genuineness,
Yes.
to care for those people, to have their interests at heart, right?
And I think that would be true of me because I'm a very shy person, but I'm also very closed off. And I think that when I start, recreating that relationship with God again, it does make a difference because I think, like what you said, I invest more, I think, in other people and let them see certain parts of me that normally I wouldn't. And I think
that's growth too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean like just everyday things, but I think just along the lines of like sharing my faith a little bit more and experiences and being a little bit more open with that spirituality with other people.
Well, I will say also, I've seen tremendous growth in just your ability to even get on this podcast and speak. If you go back a few podcasts ago, you'll
I'd be like, "Hi, I'm Vanessa."
Not even that. You wouldn't say anything.
Oh, true.
Yeah, when you and Evan when we first started doing this and we introduced you all, you would not say a word. I mean, just saying hi was like...
Yeah. Well, it's intimidating sometimes. And I think we've also just been doing this a while that it just... I think especially with it just being you and me right now, like I don't have to worry about what other people are thinking.
I would have let me tell you something. First of all, I would have never imagined that you and I would be sitting and doing a podcast together.
That's true.
Because you're so
I'm a very
shy,
quiet,
reserved.
yes.
Yeah, you're to yourself, which is, it's okay, right? But I mean,
but see, this right here is evidence. Then,
right? That's what I'm saying, and that's tremendous growth. And you've shared your faith with others that are listening, to this podcast. I mean, that to me, because we've been married for a very, very, very long time.
How long, Jesse?
Something, some few years.
Fill that quiz.
11 years. Now, if you would have asked that in Adventist terms, I would have answered correctly. But no, I mean, it's 11 years. We've been married 11 years.
Correct.
Thank you. But, over that course of time, would I have ever imagined or thought that, you and I would
be doing something
sit
like this
across from each other, sharing, this very personal area of our lives with other people on a podcast, I would have said no.
Yeah. I've been like, well, Vanessa wouldn't have been involved.
Right.
And I see that. I get that. But I think.
And you've articulated it very well also. It's not, you're very conscious and you're very aware of the things that you're experiencing, and you share them very well with others, very clearly. So that's growth.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I know. I'm just like, okay, I didn't realize that, but
well, that's the thing about growth. Sometimes
yeah.
you don't even realize that
Right.
growth until maybe other people see it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that we've just, throughout the years, I think that I've had my moments of being stagnant, and then having situations push me into, finding that faith again, or that yearning for God. That I've kind of just learned things as we've, in the last 11 years.
It
kind of got me.
Years.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
I just mean, like, I've had situations throughout the 11 years that have not necessarily that I've put myself in positions, but I've been pushed into positions, kind of like this walking challenge, that have been laid out for me, and I feel like those are God's way, because I've always asked God, like, don't let me leave you.
Mm-hmm.
And, whatever you need to do to keep me, and sometimes in those situations, I'm like, why, God, why would you put me in this situation? But,
because I want you close to me.
But I think it is his way of saying, not that he wanted those situations for me, for me to be in those certain situations, but I think it was his way of saying, look, I can turn these situations into something that you want. You want me to have a relationship with you. You keep asking me. So, during these times, I'm here. Like, lean on me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me help you. Let me take care of you. So
I'm very proud of you, honey.
Oh, well, thanks.
I want to wrap it up with this, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, that is so meaningful, and I hope that other people that are listening and maybe feeling themselves, I'm stuck, I'm stagnant, I don't know, where to go from here, something simple as being alone and spending time with God, introducing him, inviting him into your life, into that free time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Into that void, it blessings can spring from that.
Mm-hmm.
That you had no clue were even there for you, right?
Yes.
So I want to end with this passage. Since this is the means by which we are to receive power, talking about the Holy Spirit, right? This is the means to receive power. Why do we not hunger and thirst for the gift of the Spirit? Right? I mean, this is right. Our source of power. Why don't we hunger and thirst? I mean, you think, you say sometimes we get stagnant and we stay stuck, and yet, we wouldn't go days without eating. Right? But yet we can go days without spiritual food. And then we don't hunger and thirst for that the same as we hunger and thirst for our basic, food and our basic needs, right? So it's like, it's a great question. Why don't we hunger and thirst for this stuff?
Well, the devil's created a lot of distractions for
sure.
us.
And then the passage goes on to say, why do we not talk of it, pray for it, and preach it concerning it? The Lord is more willing to give the Holy Spirit to those who serve him than parents are to give good gifts to their children. For the daily baptism of the Spirit, every worker should offer his petition to God. Companies of Christian workers should gather to ask for special help, for heavenly wisdom, that they may know how to plan and execute wisely. Especially should they pray that God will baptize his chosen ambassadors in mission fields with a rich measure of his Spirit. The presence of the Spirit with God's workers will give the proclamation of truth a power that not all the honor or glory of the world could give. So if we want to share, right, the message, if we want to share our faith with others, we have to have that Holy Spirit. And the only way to have that Holy Spirit is that we have to hunger and thirst for it. And we have to ask for it. And God's more than willing to give those blessings.
Yes.
Would you agree, Vanessa?
I would agree, Jesse.
What a fantastic podcast. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate your wisdom, words of wisdom, your words of encouragement. I'm positive someone out there will eventually find this podcast and put it to good use. But thank you, Vanessa, for sharing that. And thanks for our listeners for hanging in there with us today. We hope you've learned something that you can take and practice and find that relationship with God, that fulfilling relationship with God that will bring so many blessings to your life and to the life of other people.
Yes.
And so we'll see you back here next time on Haystack Nation. God bless you all.